everybody, it's Fabrizio Aiello. Welcome to What is Fabrizio Inking? And today I am inking some concept art based on Horace H. Hoover, who is a character from a comic book that I have created. Horace H. Hoover, currently one issue, and issue 1 and 2 are available on eternocomics.com. Check them out. Alrighty. So today I am continuing working on this drawing. This is sort of like some concept art of Horace H. Hoover. He is sort of in a swamp. There's some heads hanging from a tree. There's a woman who's been tied to some sort of strange idol, and Horace is cautiously moving forward. As far as tools, I do everything primarily with brush. So I have a Kolinsky Sable number 2 today. I usually either do 2 or 3. And I use inks a little different. I kind of actually switch it up, which is kind of weird. Usually you want to stick with the same ink, but it's usually either Speedball or I think Eon ink. But any questions, comments in the chat, let me know. Try to zoom in a little closer so you have a good shot of it. Still a lot to do as far as the branches, her face, the symbol, water. There's a lot more to do. But getting there. So I actually received a resin model yesterday for Horace H. Hoover. About 8 months or so ago, I sent a 3D model sculpted in ZBrush, which is a 3D sculpting software. And I sent it to a company called Ownage, and Ownage, what they do is they take that ZBrush sculpture, that digital brush, digital sculpture, they do a 3D print of it, an extraordinarily high resolution 3D print of it, and then they will do molds of that print and then do casts on that print. Unfortunately, between the size of the resin model, 3D print, shipping, painting, etc., it wasn't economical for me to actually get any kits done. But I do have the 3D print, which I'll pull that out later on, just to show people. It's really extraordinary, the resolution. I've never seen a 3D print outside of Ownage at this quality. I have a fair amount of 3D printing experience, but it's really exceptional. So what I'll probably do is hang on to the 3D print for a while, maybe after the 5 issues of Horace H. Hoover are done, and then I will probably start doing molds and casts of that. Hey Tommy, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. It is a lazy Sunday over here, so anything to keep me awake. This is turning out pretty good though, so I'm a fan. Robert Roxby, how's it going? This is prime nap time right now for me, but I figured I'd get a little more of this drawing done. the further you get into a drawing like this, the inks in particular, there's a balance between, hey, this is going well, you know, I'm in a groove, I can really get this done, it'll be fine. And then also, yeah, I can really mess this up. And then I have to try to figure out a way to correct it. So we'll see how this works out. Setting up a new teeny Bluetooth Wacom tablet to use portably. Interesting. Hey, Yan. Yang Zhao. Sorry about that. I always butcher your name. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I don't think I'll be able to finish this one just yet today, but I think between today and another live stream, I hope I can finish this. It's all good. Most people do. Yeah, I mean, with a name like Fabrizio, trust me, I feel you. Unless I am literally in Italy, it's really rare that people get that right. Or, you know, it's funny, even if they do get the first name right, generally the last name trips them up. So they get halfway there and then can't stick the ending. But I get it. What size brush are you using? This is a number 2 Kolinsky Sable. I do go between 2 and 3. Honestly, it depends on the tip, like the point of the brush. Sometimes right out of the package, these Kolinsky Sables will be perfect and they will have like a beautiful tip to them, but sometimes they won't. So it's not necessarily, you know, a size 2 or 3 that really dictates what I use. It's the tip, the condition of the actual tip of the brush. Because sure, 3s hold more ink, which is nice. But if I have to constantly struggle to get a tip on the brush, then that's going to just throw you off. So I'm not actually going to do very much like really solid blacks for this scene either. I feel like it is out of doors. It's, even if it's nighttime with the water and sort of the global effect of light, just having really intense solid blacks are tough. They're gonna look, I don't want to say fake, but they'll flatten out the drawing, I think. So I rarely do that, but in this particular scenario, there's definitely a reason for it. There's going to be reflections everywhere. Not that I'm overly academic with light. I think you need like a general idea of what you're doing, and then you utilize it like to an artistic effect. So I'm not saying it has to be super technical, but you want to at least start with the real and then bend it to your will, so to speak. So these extraordinarily tiny little hatching on the edge, right on the edge of these black lines. It's a very Brian Boland kind of thing, which I've never really done a lot of it, but it really rounds the shape a lot. So I figured if I'm doing concept art, why not test something like that out? Not that I'm Brian Boland, but there's nothing wrong with taking something that you see like that and seeing if it'll work in your particular scenario. And the kicker is, though, you really need to use it everywhere, at least in the character that you're drawing. So this is definitely a finishing sort of level of detail that I'm doing. Maybe a little early. But just to break up the branches and all of the other environmental art I'm doing. Yeah, definitely rounds. It rounds forms. And for clothing, especially for his jacket, actually works pretty well. But if you can't experiment in concept art, then you'll never progress at all at that point. You'll just keep producing the same thing over and over and over again. Which has its place, I'm not gonna lie. Some people have had long careers doing that. But I get bored really quickly if I'm not progressing or learning or trying to implement something new. Yeah, this particular brush has just really held this point really nicely. So whenever I find that I'm using a brush that, has kept its point, I don't know how long I've had this particular brush for, or it's just having a good hair day, so to speak, then that's a good time to do the little detail, even when it's not necessarily the plan, but if it's got that point that you're looking for all the time, why not use it? All right, I think that's pretty good for Horace. He's almost done at this point. I just have to finish doing the hose. I will do his plug. Dan looks great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Dan Plegel Boob Dan Art. That's a family name, I'm assuming, right? Like an old English name. I'm just joking. I always hated coming up with screen names. I have been using the same screen name for something like 20 years. So I am Spoon Shoe. Back in the day, it wasn't too hard to come up with a screen name that wasn't taken anywhere. But I said one day, I'm like, you know what, that's it. I'm not going to do variations of Fabrizio. I'm not going to do, some random thing. I'm going to do Spoon Shoe, and I'm going to use it for every single platform, every email, everything I sign up for, absolutely everything. And I've been using that for a good 20 years. I even owned spoonchew.com for a while. I don't think I own it anymore, though. I haven't checked. I used to buy domains quite a bit. Old German name. I should have known. So these big heads up front, I definitely want to make sure that they don't get lost and the black isn't too intense, because then again that'll just flatten this whole area. So I'm definitely going to leave the form of the head, so I'll just be hatching, not with a little bit of variation, because you don't want the hatching to get you want to maintain the organic feel of it, since these are wrinkles and like stretched skin and stuff like that. So you want to kind of imply that even in the shadow part. It'd be nice to have different music for StreamYard that's appropriate to what I'm actually drawing. I should look into that a bit. Be cool to have creepy haunted house music if the drawing is like a old house. I don't know what is swamp music though. It's like, I hadn't thought about that. I don't know what swamp music is. Is it banjo? Is it the jug? The traditional jug? I don't know. Something with alligator skin? Is there an alligator skin something? I might actually ink her face with a pen, just in case. Like if you get that face wrong, then it's all for naught at that point. Of course, you can do whiteout, but it's still not the same as being able to ink on the original paper. Just the way the brush or the pen sort of glides across like hot press paper versus paper with acrylic ink or whiteout or something like that. It'll catch, it'll come off, sometimes it'll mix with the ink. It's never a good experience. At least for something very, if you're doing like an expressionistic kind of, like a really loose drawing or something with splatter and with sort of caricatured faces or something like that, it's fine. But when you're really trying to maintain like the structure of a face, then that is not the way to go. I don't have to rely too much on the coloring for separations. I really want to make sure that this works as a black and white drawing, if at all possible. I mean, sometimes you lose a little bit of clarity, and you know, knowing that you're gonna color it later definitely gives you some flexibility, and you can salvage it later on. But if at all possible, I want to make sure that this is really readable as a black and white image. Alright, so I got the basic, got her eyelashes, her lips. I will touch that up later, but the initial sort of roughing out of her face, so to speak, looks like it worked, so that's good. At this point, it's just kind of refining and touch things up a little bit. That is a relief. Alrighty, let's see. Work a little more on the back of this head here. You definitely have to follow the form. You know, if I just started doing straight hatching, again, it would just completely flatten. So these strokes actually serve two purposes. Again, one is just to actually bring the value down to show that it's in shadow or it's receiving shadow, and the other is essentially to imply skin and folds and texture. Right now, all of the hatching and the lines essentially are vertical. So in order to really kind of finish it, I'll definitely have to come in and start doing some horizontal lines. Even if they are just the edges of the vertical lines like I was doing earlier in the clothing. Alrighty. So this is a good area where whenever you notice lines all going in one direction or generally the same shape, any way you can throw something across that. So for this, it's pretty convenient that I can put like vines or things that just cut right across it. Because your brain will see that repetition and it'll just look off. So you just want to try to break that up as much as possible, within reason. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But it starts to look unnatural, even though for the person doing the art, it's extraordinarily natural just to keep repeating like the same shape or the same stroke. So it's something you have to really watch out for. A perfect example of that is Sleepy Hollow by Tim Burton. The tree, where it's sort of like it's one big swoop, it's like a half moon almost. It's a cool looking tree, but it doesn't look natural. It doesn't look like an actual tree. It just kind of shows how unnatural something like that does look whenever you just keep repeating things, and you don't alter the direction of it, especially a plant, something organic like that. So anything that's right next to this sort of idol, whatever you want to call it, I really want to push the idol forward, and you do that by moving the value of everything next to it darker. That way the idol is definitely in front of the tree in the background, and you can really clearly see the edge of it. It's really just about juggling values all the time and having to change them on the fly. If you realize that you went too far in one direction, then you have to go into the background and update that. If you didn't go far enough, vice versa. The biggest thing I have left to do really is this idol, which I have to do a little more research on some of the symbols I want to use for that. So I'm going to leave that until the very end, because I don't want to do all made up fake symbols on that thing. want to make sure these trees in the background definitely go into the background. So I won't be putting really any detail, they're just going to be value. This tree in the foreground. Definitely gonna need to be careful as far as not interfering visually with these two heads. But the trees have to have enough detail to make it realistic that they are actually in the foreground. So you actually see enough detail in the bark and maybe little flowers growing or weeds or bugs or stuff. I keep trying to sing Black Hole Sun to the music in my head, but it doesn't work. It's a fun little torture. I've thought of ways to change up the music. I've actually considered like doing my own like loop or something. Robert, you'd be awesome at that. Even I was just gonna pick a couple of chords and just do some improv guitar or something, but I feel like that might be a little too I don't know. I've never tried to write anything repetitious that sort of is supposed to fade into the background. But yeah, man, you should do that. There's a whole market for these free background loops that everybody needs. I know I said the word free, but I didn't mean completely free. Oh, nice. Yeah, you're gonna have to let me know how that microphone works out for you. Now that I'm very concerned that I can't use it on my the one I currently have on my laptop, because that would be unfortunate. Yeah, still making progress, quite a bit actually. Just got 8 more minutes for today, but I think maybe another hour, and maybe an hour and a half tops though. can't think of any swamp-based comic books besides Swamp Thing. I feel like that's fertile ground. Is the Swamp Thing in a literal swamp? Surely his... I have no idea. Yeah, I think it's a literal swamp. But doesn't he go outside the swamp? Like, forest thing? Does he travel? Man Thing, yeah, which... I mean, I don't know who stole who for Man Thing and Swamp Thing. I feel like Man Thing came after, but I could be totally wrong about that. I don't really know anything about the timeline of those. I just know that, I mean, they're pretty similar. Like there should be a whole swamp-based team, like Avengers, but they just hang out in swamps. And I think Midnight Suns also gets a good bit of swamp time. Baron Voodoo, yeah. Brother Voodoo? I always loved that character design. And I'm off the page. He was Sorcerer Supreme. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Alrighty. I am definitely getting to the end of this. You know what? Before I go, I am going to grab that model. I will be right back. So this is the resin model I have. So we have one side with Horace's feet coming out. And then the other side with his head hanging out, holding up the tentacle. But I will say this, the quality on these prints are pretty spectacular. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on this camera. But we even have the threading that I put in for the shoes. It's really, really remarkable quality. Now this is the original 3D print. This is not a cast. So from this, essentially you would make molds and then do casts from it. But definitely interesting. Jordan Wheeler, looking badass. Is it like you piece two of them together to make a figure? No, what it is you take so you would take this and you would put it on your wall like this, like his feet are coming out of the wall, and then somewhere else in your room or your house you would have this on the wall sticking out, so it looks like his head's sticking out of one side and then his feet are sticking out of the other. I always thought it would be cool if you had just like a hallway or something where on, like when you look half, like on one wall you got his feet and the other wall you can see his head, or you can have it hanging from a ceiling or something like that. Yeah, but so anyway, that's the resin model. Again, I don't know when the kits and molds will be made from it, but it's still pretty fun. All right, well, thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. I will probably continue this during the week, at least an hour at a time. I have a couple other ones I want to do as well. And if you haven't checked out Horace H. Hoover, go to alternacomics.com to get issues 1 and 2 of a 5-issue limited series. Thanks again. Everybody have a good evening. Bye.